Nera checked her weapons as she walked along the border of Talon territory. The young warrior had been doing these patrols for 3 years now, but she never felt bored. Each day brought new challenges in this wild area where few Talons ventured. Today's patrol took her to the eastern mountains. Strange readings had been coming from there for weeks. Her commander had finally decided to send someone to look, and Nera had been chosen. Probably just old tech making noise, she muttered to herself. Her blue skin looked almost purple in the light of the rising sun. The 4 fingers on each hand tightened around her scanner as she climbed higher. Nera stood 7 feet tall, like most adult Talons. Her head had no hair, just smooth skin with light blue markings that showed her clan. 2 large eyes with yellow pupils scanned the rocky path ahead. Talons were built to be warriors, strong, fast, and tough. Nera was proud of her heritage. The scanner beeped louder as she moved between 2 large rocks. She stopped and looked around carefully. Nothing seemed unusual. Just rocks, some small plants, and the mountain rising above her. "Show me what's here," she said to her scanner. It projected a small 3D map with a blinking dot showing something buried in the rock face ahead. Nera approached cautiously. Running her hand along the rock wall, she felt something different, a straight edge where there should be none. She pushed and prodded until her fingers found a small crack. Using her strength, she dug her fingers in and pulled. With a grinding noise, a section of rock moved inward, revealing a dark passage. "That's not Talon design," she whispered. Her people built with curves and organic shades. This was all straight lines and angles. Nera activated the light on her wrist and stepped inside. The passage sloped downward. The walls were made of some smooth material she didn't recognize. It was cold inside, and the air smelled strange, stale but clean. After walking for several minutes, she reached a large metal door. It was partly open, as if someone had left in a hurry long ago. Nera squeezed through the gap and found herself in a large room filled with strange equipment. "This is human," she said with surprise. Humans were thought to be extinct. The Great Collapse had happened 3 centuries ago. Everyone knew the story. Humans had spread across many planets, but then disappeared suddenly. Some said they destroyed themselves. Others believed they were wiped out by disease or war. All that remained were ruins and old stories. Nera had seen pictures of humans in history lessons, small, fragile creatures with hair on their heads and only 5 fingers total. They looked weak, but they had built amazing things before they vanished. She walked through the room, careful not to touch anything. The walls had writing she couldn't read. Screens hung blank and dead. Dust covered everything. In the next room, Nera found rows of large metal tubes. Most were broken open, empty inside. But at the far end, one tube glowed with a faint blue light. Nera approached slowly. The tube had a clear section, and inside was a human. "Impossible," she whispered. The human was male, she thought. It had short dark hair and pale skin. Its eyes were closed. It wore a tight white outfit with strange symbols on the chest. The human looked peaceful, as if sleeping. A small screen beside the tube showed moving symbols and numbers. Nera didn't understand them, but one thing was clear. This machine was still working after centuries. She stood there, staring at the human. This was a major discovery. Protocol said she should report this immediately and wait for orders. But something made her hesitate. The council would take the human away. They might destroy it, thinking it dangerous, or they might study it in ways that would hurt it. Nera made her decision. She would take the human back herself. She would wake it up and learn its secrets before anyone could stop her. "You're coming with me, little human," she said as she began looking for controls to move the tube. Nera managed to disconnect the tube from the wall systems. It was heavy, but Talons were strong. She pulled it onto her small transport ship and covered it with a tarp. No one saw her return to the settlement. Instead of going to the main area, she headed for her friend Dave's workshop on the edge of town. If anyone could help with the human, it would be him. Day was the settlement's scientist. He looked up from his work table as Nera entered. His yellow eyes widened when she removed the tarp. "Is that what I think it is?" he asked, moving closer to the tube. "A human," Nera said. "Still alive, I think. Frozen somehow." Dave circled the tube, examining it carefully. "This is amazing technology. It's kept him preserved for centuries." "Can we wake him up?" Nora asked. Day looked worried. "We should report this to the council first." "You know what they'll do," Nora said. "They'll take him away. We'll never learn anything." After thinking for a moment, Day nodded. "I'll help, but be careful. We know almost nothing about humans except old stories." They worked through the night. Dad figured out the tube's control panel by trying different buttons. Finally, they found one that started a warming process. The blue light inside the tube changed to orange. The cold air inside began to warm up. The human's chest started to move slightly. "It's breathing," Dai whispered. After an hour, the tube made a beeping sound, and the top slid open. The human's eyes remained closed, but he was definitely alive. "Now what?" Dai asked. "We wait," Nara replied. They didn't wait long. The human's eyes suddenly opened. They were dark brown and filled with confusion. He saw the two aliens standing over him and tried to sit up quickly. Too quickly. He fell back, groaning. "Slow movements," Day said gently. "You've been asleep a long time." The human stared at them. "What? Who are you?" His voice was rough from not being used. Nara was surprised. "You speak our language." The human looked confused. "No, you're speaking mine." Day checked his translator device. The translator is working. "Interesting. Human language must be in its database." The human tried to sit up again, slowly this time. "Where am I? What are you?" "I am Nera, warrior of the 3rd Talon Fleet. This is Da, our settlement scientist." "Talon?" The human looked even more confused. "I don't know that species." "We found you frozen," Da explained. "In an old human facility. You've been asleep for a very long time." "How long?" the human asked. Nera and Da looked at each other. "About 300 years, Nera said. "Humans are gone now. The Great Collapse happened long ago." The human's face showed shock, then pain. He closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they were wet. "My name is June," he said finally. "I was part of Earth's deep space preparation program. We were supposed to sleep until the colony ships were ready." "There were no colony ships," Dai said gently. "At least, none in our historical records." June tried to stand but was too weak. Nara caught him before he fell. "My family, my friends?" June asked, his voice shaking. "I'm sorry," Nara said. "As far as we know, you may be the last human alive." Word spread quickly through the settlement about the human. By morning, curious Talons gathered outside Daz's workshop, wanting to see the creature from the past. "What will happen to me?" June asked, watching the crowd through a window. "You'll stay with me," Nora decided. "I found you, so I'm responsible for you." "Like a pet?" June asked with a strange expression. Nera didn't understand the word. "Like a guest," she said. "But there are those who would see you as a threat. Until we know more, it's safer if others think you belong to me." June nodded slowly. "I don't have much choice, do I? My world is gone." "Not gone," Nara said firmly. "Just change. And now you must change too." Nara's home was simple but large by Talon standards. She cleared a small room for June. The furniture was too big for him, so Dai helped make a bed that fit his smaller size. "You will stay here," Nara told June. "It's safer for now. Some Talons don't trust what they don't understand." June still looked sad, but nodded. "Thank you for helping me." Over the next few days, June grew stronger. Dai found foods that humans could eat. Nara brought him clothes that almost fit, though they had to cut them to match his 5-fingered hands and shorter limbs. Each morning, Nara would teach June about Talon culture. She showed him pictures of their 3 home planets and explained their social structure. All Talons serve in either the military, science, or building guilds, she explained. I chose the military path, like most of my family. Humans had many more choices, June said. We could be artists, teachers, doctors, farmers, thousands of jobs. Nara looked confused. What is an artist? June smiled for the first time since waking up. He asked for paper and something to draw with. Using simple tools, he sketched Nara's face. She stared at the drawing in wonder. You made this. But why? Cameras take better pictures. Art isn't about perfect copies, June explained. It's about feelings, beauty, and how we see the world. In the afternoons, June would teach Nara about human history. She was surprised by how much it differed from what Talon records claimed. Our books say humans destroyed themselves in war, she said. June shook his head. We were facing climate problems and resource shortages. That's why the deep space program started. We were looking for new homes. Then what happened? Why the great collapse? I don't know, June admitted. Everything seemed hopeful when I went into the sleep chamber. Something must have gone wrong after. One evening, June found Nara's music player. The sounds were strange to him, deep tones with no melody. Is this Talon music? He asked. Yes, for military marches and ceremonies. June asked if he could show her human music. With Day's help, they found a way to connect his sleep pod's memory unit to Talon devices. Soon, beautiful human songs filled the room. Nara sat perfectly still, listening. The complex melodies and emotional singing were unlike anything she had heard before. This makes me feel strange, she said finally. What do you feel? June asked. Nara struggled to find words, like happiness and sadness together. Like I want to move, but also sit still forever. June smiled. We call that being moved by music. It's normal for humans. Talons don't talk much about feelings, Nara admitted. We focus on duty and strength. As days passed, other Talons became curious about June. Some brought strange objects, asking him to explain their human origins. Others kept their distance, watching with suspicion. June learned quickly. Soon he could speak basic Talon words without the translator. He learned their customs and tried to fit in, though he remained obviously different. Nara noticed that she was changing too. She found herself thinking about beauty in new ways. She caught herself humming human melodies. She even tried drawing, though her pictures were not as good as June's. One night, Nara found June staring at the stars from a window. Are you thinking about Earth? She asked. Yes, he said quietly, but also about my place here. I'm grateful for your protection, Nara, but I don't want to be just a pet or a curiosity forever. Nara sat beside him. You're not a pet to me anymore. She paused, searching for the right word. You're my friend. June looked surprised, then smiled. Friend. I like that word. Neither knew that this simple friendship would soon face its greatest test. 3 weeks after June awoke, trouble arrived at Nara's settlement. A large silver ship landed in the center of town. Everyone knew what it meant. The Talon Council had sent someone. Nara was training when a messenger came running. Council Representative Hyun has arrived. The messenger said. He asks to see you and the human immediately. Nara rushed home to warn June. A council member is here. This is bad. Why? June asked. Maybe they just want to meet me. The council doesn't make social visits, Nara explained. They must have heard about you. We need to be careful. They walked to the town hall where a tall Talon in formal black armor waited. His skin was darker blue than most, with elaborate markings showing high rank. Warrior Nara, he said with a cold smile. I am Representative Hyun. The council sends greetings. Nara bowed respectfully. We are honored by your visit. Hyun's yellow eyes focused on June. So this is the human you found. Interesting specimen. His name is June, Nara said. It can speak? Hyun asked, as if June wasn't there. I can, June answered, stepping forward. And I prefer to be called, he nodded. Hyun raised his eye ridges in surprise. Spirited creature. The reports were accurate. He turned to Nara. You should have reported this discovery immediately. Finding a living human is a matter for the council, not a simple warrior. I meant no disrespect, Nara said. I wanted to ensure he was healthy before transport. Your concern is noted, Hyun said. I will take the human to Central City tomorrow. The council wishes to study it. Dae, who had joined them, asked, for what purpose? Hyun's face hardened. That is council business, scientist. That evening, Nara, Dae, and Jun met in secret. What will they do to me? Jun asked. I don't know, Nara admitted. But something isn't right. Hyun seems too interested in you. Dae nodded. I checked the historical archives again. There's something strange. Information about humans keeps changing. Details disappear or get replaced. Can records be changed? Jun asked. Only by council order, Dae said. Someone is hiding the truth about humans. Late that night, Nara sneaked into the visitor quarters where Hyun was staying. While he slept, she carefully searched his things. In a locked case, she found a small device. She took it to Dae. It's a secure communication unit, he said after examining it. He connected it to his equipment and broke the security codes. What they found shocked them. Messages between Hyun and the council revealed a terrible truth. They've known about humans all along, Nara whispered as she read. There are other human survivors. The council has been hunting them for centuries. But why? Jun asked. One final message answered his question. Hyun had written, the human will be useful. With its genetic material, we can finally complete the weapon that will eliminate the remaining colonies. The Voidborn will be pleased. Who are the Voidborn? Jun asked. I don't know, Nara said. I've never heard that name before. Dae looked grim. Whatever it means, they plan to use you to hurt other humans. We can't let Hyun take you. What can we do? Jun asked. If the council is involved, nowhere in Talon space is safe. Nara made her decision. We run. Tonight. Beyond Talon territory. You would leave everything behind? Dae asked. For him? Nara looked at Jun. Not just for him. For the truth. If the council has lied about humans, what else have they lied about? Dae nodded slowly. I'll help you prepare. But hurry. Hyun might already suspect something. As they packed supplies, none of them noticed the small drone hovering outside the window, recording everything they said. In his quarters, Hyun watched the video feed and smiled coldly. Nara and Jun left the settlement 3 hours before sunrise. They took Nara's small scout ship, which was fast but not built for long journeys. Dae provided supplies and promised to delay Hyun as long as possible. Head for the outer territories, Dae told them. Beyond council control, I've entered coordinates of abandoned outposts where you can rest. As they lifted off, alarms sounded across the settlement. Hyun had discovered their plans sooner than expected. Hold on, Nara said as she pushed the ship to full speed. The small vessel shot upward into the night sky. 2 larger ships rose behind them, council enforcers. They're gaining on us, Jun said, watching the radar. Nara smiled grimly. Not for long. She steered the ship toward a dense asteroid field. No Talon pilot will follow us in there. Will we survive? Jun asked, seeing the floating rocks ahead. We'll find out, Nara replied as she guided the ship into the dangerous maze. Nara and Jun barely escaped the council ships. They jumped to light speed just as energy blasts hit their rear shields. The small ship shook but held together. That was close, Jun said, checking the damage reports. How did they find us so quickly? Nara frowned. There must be a tracker somewhere. She searched the ship while June piloted. Under the control panel, she found a small blinking device. Hyun must have placed it before we left, she said, crushing the tracker in her strong hand. According to the star charts, Proxima b was a small planet in a system far from Talon space. The journey would take 5 days at top speed. They took turns sleeping and piloting. On the 4th day, their ship's warning system activated. A large asteroid was on collision course. June tried to change direction, but the controls didn't respond. "The steering is damaged from the attack," he said. "We're going to hit." Nara pushed him aside. "Not if I can help it." She opened a panel beneath the floor and pulled out cables. "Manual override." "Hold on." Using her bare hands, she connected power directly to the thrusters. The ship jerked violently, barely missing the asteroid. But the effort burned out their main engine. "We can still reach Proxima b," Nara said, "but we'll have to crash land." 2 days later, they approached the planet. It was mostly brown and gray, with small blue oceans. Their entry was rough. The ship bounced across a rocky plain before coming to stop near a mountain range. "Are you hurt?" Nara asked, helping June from his seat. "Just bruised," he replied. "Where are we?" Nara checked their position. "About 200 miles from where the coordinates point. We'll have to walk." They salvaged what they could from the ship and began their journey. The planet was cold and windy. Strange animals watched them from behind rocks. Some looked like giant lizards with 6 legs. After 3 days of walking, they reached a valley between tall mountains. Nothing seemed special about it. "Are you sure this is right?" Nara asked. June checked the coordinates again. "This is the place." The message said underground shelters. "We need to find an entrance." They searched all day without success. As the sun set, June sat on a rock, discouraged. "Maybe they left," he said, "or the coordinates were wrong." Suddenly, the ground beneath him shifted. He jumped up as the rock slid aside, revealing a dark hole. Weapons pointed up at them from below. "Don't move," shouted a voice in human language. "We're not enemies," June called back, speaking the same language. "I'm human. My name is June." There was silence. Then, "Humans don't travel with Talons." "She's my friend," June explained. "She saved me." After a tense moment, a ladder extended up from the hole. "The human can come down. The Talon stays there." Nara gripped her weapon. "We both go, or neither of us." June touched her arm. "Let me go first. I'll explain everything." Reluctantly, Nara agreed. June climbed down the ladder into darkness. He found himself in a tunnel with 5 humans pointing weapons at him. They wore simple clothing made from rough fabric. Their faces showed both fear and hope. "How did you find us?" asked an older man with gray hair. June explained about his cryo sleep and how Nara had found him. He told them about the message from Dr. Kim and their escape from the council. The humans listened carefully. When he finished, the older man signaled to the others. "I'm Han," he said. "I lead this shelter. There are 200 of us living here, descendants of the original colonists who fled the Voidborn." "What about my friend?" June asked. Han looked unsure. "Talons have hunted us for generations. How do you know she's not controlled by them?" "She risked everything to help me," June said firmly. "If she wanted to harm humans, she could have given me to the council." Han nodded slowly. "Very well, but she'll be watched." They signaled up to Nara, who climbed down cautiously. The humans stepped back as the tall blue alien joined them. "Welcome to the last free human settlement," Han said. "At least, the last one we know of." The underground settlement amazed Nara. Humans had built an entire city inside the mountain. Tunnels connected large caves where people lived and worked. Lights powered by hidden generators made it feel like daytime. Many humans stared at Nara with fear or anger. Children hid behind their parents when she walked by. She understood their fear, but it made her sad. Han showed them to a small room with 2 beds. You can stay here. Don't wander alone, he told Nera. For 3 days, June and Nera learned about the settlement. The humans had advanced technology, but kept it hidden. They grew food in special rooms with artificial light. They collected water from underground rivers. On the 4th day, alarms sounded throughout the tunnels. Everyone ran to a large central cave where Han stood on a platform. Our sensors have detected Talon ships entering orbit, he announced. They found us. Panic spread through the crowd. A woman shouted, "It's because we let a Talon in. She led them here." "No," Jum said, stepping forward. "We destroyed the tracker on our ship. They must have followed our crash site." Han nodded. "Either way, we need to prepare. They'll be here within 2 days." In a smaller room, leaders gathered to make plans. Nara listened as they discussed their options. "We could evacuate," suggested a young woman. "We have the hidden ships." "There's no time to move everyone," Han replied, "and nowhere safe to go." "Then we fight," said an older man with scars on his face. "We've done it before." Han looked at June. "What do you think? You're from the old world." June thought carefully. "How many fighters do you have?" "About 50 with combat training," Han answered. "Against how many Talons?" Nera spoke up. "A standard council force would be at least 200 warriors, all with advanced weapons and armor." The room grew quiet. The numbers were not in their favor. "But we have something they don't expect," Jun said suddenly. "We have a Talon who knows how they think. And we have human creativity." Over the next day, Jun and Nera worked together on a plan. Nara explained Talon battle tactics, organized, predictable, and by the book. "Talons follow rules in battle," she told the human fighters. "They expect enemies to do the same. They don't understand surprise or tricks." Jun added, "And they've never fought alongside humans. They don't know what we can do together." They set up training sessions. Nera taught the humans about Talon weaknesses, gaps in their armor, limits to their vision. Jun taught Nera about human-style fighting, unpredictable, adaptive, and creative. In one session, Nera easily defeated 5 human fighters using standard Talon moves. "See," she said, "this is how they'll attack. Always in formation, always following patterns." Then Jun stepped forward. "Now watch this." He faced Nera alone. She attacked using the same moves. But Jun didn't react as expected. He slid between her legs, threw dirt in her eyes, and used the wall to jump over her. His movements made no logical sense to Talon tactics. Within minutes, he had Nara pinned down. The human fighters cheered. Nara got up, surprised but impressed. "That's not how battles work," she said. "For humans, there are no rules in survival," Jun explained. "We use whatever works." By the second day, they had prepared traps throughout the valley. The human fighters practiced confusing tactics. Even the children helped by making noisemakers and false targets. As night fell, their sensors detected ships landing. Han gathered everyone in the main cave one last time. "The Talons are here," he announced. "But for the first time, we're not just hiding or running. Thanks to Jun and Nera, we have a chance to win." Nera stepped forward. "I was taught that humans were weak. I was wrong. Your strength isn't in your bodies, but in your minds. You think differently. That is your advantage." The humans cheered as they moved to their positions. The battle for survival was about to begin. Dawn broke over the valley as Talon warriors marched in perfect formation. Their blue skin gleamed in the morning light. Their weapons hummed with power. At their head walked Hyun, his black armor making him easy to spot. From hidden positions, the humans watched and waited. Jun and Nera crouched behind rocks near the valley entrance. Nera felt strange fighting against her own people, but she knew it was right. "Remember," Jun whispered to the fighters through their communication devices, "let them enter the valley. Don't attack until the signal." The Talons moved forward confidently. They had found human settlements before. This would be no different. When half the Talon force had entered the valley, Han pressed a button. The ground beneath the Talon's feet suddenly shifted. What looked like solid rock was actually thin covers over deep pits. Dozens of warriors fell, their perfect formation broken. "Now," Jun shouted. From all sides, noise erupted. Speakers hidden in the rocks played sounds of weapons and shouts. Fake targets popped up, and then disappeared. The Talons turned in confusion, firing at shadows. The human fighters attacked from unexpected directions. They didn't stay in one place. They hit quickly and then moved, just as Jun had taught them. Nera watched with pride as the humans used their smaller size to advantage. They slipped between rocks too narrow for Talons. They used simple tools in creative ways. One fighter threw a net over 3 Talons, while another sprayed them with sticky foam that hardened quickly. Hyun shouted orders, trying to restore order. "Form up. Standard attack pattern." But his warriors couldn't form their usual lines. The ground was uneven. Traps were everywhere, and the humans refused to fight as expected. Nera and Jun moved behind Talon lines. They had a special mission. While the battle raged, they sneaked toward Hyun's command post. There, they hoped to find proof of the Voidborn connection. They reached a small ship where Hyun had set up his equipment. Inside, they found a black box with strange symbols. "I've never seen technology like this," Nera said. "It's not Talon." Jun carefully opened it. Inside was a device that glowed with dark purple light. As they watched, the light pulsed like a heartbeat. "What is it?" Jun asked. Before Nera could answer, a cold voice spoke behind them. "It's a control node." They turned to see Hyun standing in the doorway, weapon raised. "The Voidborn use it to guide us," he continued, "to help us make the right choices." "You mean to control you?" Nera said. Hyun laughed. "No, Nera. We control it. The Council has partnered with the Voidborn for centuries. They give us power. We give them humans." "Why?" Jun asked. "What do they want with humans?" "Your emotions," Hyun said simply. "Humans feel so strongly. The Voidborn feed on emotional energy. You are their perfect food source." Nera stepped forward. "That can't be true. The Council would never agree to that." "The Council knows the truth," Hyun said. "And so do I. Look at this." He pressed a button on his wrist. A hologram appeared, showing strange creatures made of shifting darkness. They moved around a chamber filled with humans in glass containers. The humans were alive but looked in pain. "This is happening now, on the Voidborn homeworld," Han said. "Your human friends will join them soon." Nera felt sick. "We're not warriors. We're herders leading humans to slaughter." "We are what we were made to be," Hyun replied. He pointed his weapon at Jun. "Now step aside, Nera. The human comes with me." Instead of moving, Nera grabbed the control node from the box. She held it high. "What happens if I destroy this?" Hyun's eyes widened with real fear. "Don't. The connection must remain." In that moment, Nera understood. She smashed the device against the wall. Purple light exploded outward, filling the room. Outside, every Talon warrior suddenly stopped fighting. They looked around in confusion, as if waking from a dream. The battle was over, but the war against the Voidborn was just beginning. In the days after the battle, the valley became a place of healing and discovery. The Talon warriors, freed from Voidborn control, were confused and lost. Many were angry when they learned the truth. Some couldn't accept it and left. Most stayed, wanting to understand what had happened to them. Nera worked to help her people. "We were all deceived," she told them. "For generations, we believed we were serving our council. Instead, we served the Voidborn." Hyun was kept under guard. Without the control node's influence, even he began to question his past actions. The dark certainty in his eyes had been replaced by doubt. Jun spent time studying the remains of the control node with human scientists. They discovered that similar nodes existed in every Talon settlement. Each one subtly influenced Talon thoughts, making them hate and fear humans. The Voidborn are clever, Jun explained to a mixed group of humans and Talons. They didn't completely control you. They just pushed your thoughts in certain directions, made you distrust humans, made you willing to capture us. 1 week after the battle, Han called a meeting in the largest cave. Humans sat on one side, Talons on the other. The tension in the room was strong, but not hostile. "We face a common enemy," Han began. "The Voidborn have used us against each other for centuries. Now we have a chance to fight back together." Nera stepped forward. "My people were created by the Voidborn. Our history books say we evolved naturally, but Han's records show otherwise. We were designed to be warriors and hunters, to help catch humans." A female Talon stood up. "If that's true, what are we without their influence? Who are we meant to be?" "Whoever you choose," Jun said. "That's what freedom means." Han showed maps of known Voidborn locations. Their main world is here, in the shadow of a dead star. They keep human prisoners there. Many thousands. "Can they be rescued?" asked a Talon warrior. "Not without help," Han admitted. "We need ships, weapons, and fighters. We need the Talon fleet." The room grew quiet. What Han suggested was huge. Taking control of the Talon military from the corrupted council would mean civil war. Nera stood tall before the crowd. "I was a simple warrior when I found Jun in that frozen tube. I thought he would be my pet, something to study and show off." She looked at Jun with respect. "Instead, he became my teacher and friend." She turned to address everyone. "Humans and Talons are different. We think differently. We fight differently. But together, we can be stronger than the Voidborn ever imagined." One by one, Talons stood to join Nera. Then humans stood beside them, old enemies becoming new allies. That evening, Nera found Jun sitting alone, looking at the stars. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "The future," he replied. "When I went into that cryotube, I never imagined waking up to this world. Never imagined meeting someone like you." Nera sat beside him. "Are you still sad about your old life?" Jun thought before answering. "I'll always miss it, but I'm not lost anymore. I have a purpose here." "As what?" "A rebel. A fighter," Nera asked. "As a bridge," Jun said. "Between humans and Talons. Between the past and the future." Nera nodded. "Not a pet after all." "No," Jun smiled. "A partner." The next morning, they gathered on the surface. 300 humans and 200 Talons standing together. Their plan was bold: to return to Talon space, spread the truth, and build an army to fight the Voidborn. As ships prepared for launch, Nara and Jun stood at the front of the crowd. Behind them, a new flag flew, half-human design, half-Talon symbols. "Are you ready?" Nara asked. "For what?" Jun replied. "To change the universe." Jun smiled. "With you? Always." The first ships rose into the sky, carrying the most unlikely alliance the stars had ever seen. The journey ahead would be dangerous, but for the first time in centuries, both species had something they had lost long ago: hope.